This is the EcoFlow River 2 Pro portable power station. I want to go over its features and benefits, as well as tell you what I think about it in case this is something you're interested in getting. In case you don't know what this is, it's kind of like a little mini power plant because inside of here is a 768 watt-hour battery that can be used to provide AC power and DC power. The River 2 Pro is the long-awaited upgrade from the popular River Pro. Here's the River Pro right here. This is actually my very first portable power station, and I really liked it, and I still do. But there's some nice upgrades here on the River 2 Pro that I want to point out. I think the biggest upgrade to the River 2 Pro is the battery chemistry. They changed it to lithium iron phosphate, which is mainly known for its longevity. For example, the batteries inside of here are rated for 3,000 cycles. Now, after 3,000 cycles, it doesn't mean the battery just dies. It means it'll have 80% of its original capacity. So that might be a little confusing, so I'm going to explain what a cycle is. A cycle is starting with a 100% full battery, draining it to 0, and recharging it back up to 100%. That's a full cycle. So if you were to drain this and recharge it every single day to get that to that 3,000 cycle mark, that's about 9 years of very heavy use on this little guy. And what that means is that the battery won't just die after 9 years, that if you use this every single day at a full cycle, it'll have the 80% of the original 768 watt hours of capacity. So the capacity is going to be lower after all those many years of heavy use, so very long-lasting batteries. Another significant upgrade is the ability to talk to the EcoFlow app via Bluetooth. Now it can communicate via Wi-Fi, but Bluetooth is really nice because if you're camping and you're not near a Wi-Fi, you want to be able to control it or monitor it with the smartphone app. And so you can see right here, this thing doesn't know my Wi-Fi password. And so I open up the EcoFlow app and it picks it up by Bluetooth right away and asks me if I want to add it. AC charging is another big upgrade. It's blazing fast. You can go from 0 to 100% in about 70 minutes, and that's versus it took an hour to get to 80% on the old River Pro. When I charged this recently, I actually did better than 70 minutes, and when it took only about 64 minutes to charge it to 100%. And as someone who tests these units, I always appreciate when the manufacturers are a little bit more on the conservative side when they publish their specs. AC discharging also got a big upgrade. Across all 4 of these ports, you can expect at least 800 watts of continuous power with a 1600 watt surge. Now, when I first saw that it had a 1600 watt surge, I was really excited because you're getting in the range of the starting power of many stand-up refrigerators. Now, unfortunately, this can't do my refrigerator because it has about an 1800 watt surge power that it needs to get started. And if you plugged it into here, it just shows overload on the screen. But if your refrigerator compressor needs about 13 amps or less, then the River 2 Pro is going to be able to run your refrigerator. And the way I got to 13 amps is taking that 1600 watt surge power and divided by 120 volts, and it gets to be around 13 amps. Another interesting change is that this USB-C port is now bidirectional. So not only can you output 100 watts, you can also input 100 watts to charge the batteries. And there's a few more upgrades that I'll talk about when I get into charging and discharging. Let's talk about the physical characteristics next. So the River 2 Pro follows in the design of the River 2 series, where they got rid of the handle on the top and they put the handle in the back. Now notice there's a flat top here, so I like that. You can put things on here or stack things on here, but note this is not a wireless charging pad. They don't have that on here. On the back is where your inputs are. Here's where the AC wall input goes in, and here's where your solar or car charging, your DC input, would go in over here. You have your fans on the sides, and then on the front here, EcoFlow uses their same type of display. It's very nice, very clean looking display, and it'll show you, how much time is left until the battery drains if you're in a more output stage, or how long it's going to take till it gets to 100% if you're kind of in an input stage. Now you can use input and output at the same time on here, and so it just takes its best guess as to what information you need to know at that time. And then it has the input and output wattages shown on the screen here too. So you have 4 AC outlets, you have DC barrel ports here, you have your 12 volt car port up here, you have 3 USB-A ports and 1 USB-C port. And in terms of how much this whole thing weighs, on my scale it weighs just a little over 17 pounds. In terms of the cables that you get with the River 2 Pro, you get a car charging cable. This is a DC cable. You get the wall AC cable, and curiously you get this DC barrel port cable. I don't know how many things that you use this on, but you get it. In terms of charging the River 2 Pro, it performed very well in all of my tests. From the wall AC, it imported about 900 watts of power, and again, charged in under 70 minutes. In terms of solar, you can use any solar panel that you want, up to 220 watts of input. EcoFlow does make a 220 watt bifacial solar panel that you can use, but you can use, again, any one that you want. And you can see here, with a different type of solar panel, I was able to get 211 watts of solar input. So I mentioned that you can input and output on the River 2 Pro at the same time, so let me show you that feature. But before I do, I want to mention that there is no button to turn on the DC ports here, which I actually kind of like, because I'm charging up a phone right here, and I don't have to press a button to turn on these particular ports. There's just a button for the AC ports and a button for these DC ports. But the USB ports, all you have to do is plug it in. And so I have the AC ports turned on now. These are outputting power. Let me plug in the wall AC, and the relay just kicked on. And you can see it is starting to charge at the same time that it is outputting power. So I'm doing AC output. There's my scale, which is plugged in right here. I'm charging a phone. So you can do both at the same time. And I had mentioned that it chooses the time value here, which they think it's most appropriate. And here it says the recharge time is 13 minutes. The River 2 Pro has a UPS type feature, which they call EPS, and what that basically means is that when you have it plugged into the wall and it's at 100%, you're going to pass through the AC to these ports in the front here and not use the battery. So I have that set up right now, and you can see it is inputting the wattage, and it's exactly the same as the output wattage. So it's going to power this laptop. So the wall AC is going right to this laptop, and there's no battery in this laptop. Let's just show it to you here. See, there's nothing in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the power to simulate that, say there was a power outage, and to show you how fast it switches over from the wall AC to the battery to provide power to run this laptop. So keep an eye over here as I disconnect this to see if there's any indication on the backlight on this laptop to see if it flashes or anything. So let's pull this off, simulate a power outage. I didn't notice anything on that laptop, and so it's running completely off a battery here. You can see that the input wattage went to 0. So you can use this for anything like a CPAP machine or something where you want to have AC power in case the wall AC gets disconnected for some reason. So what I'd like to test now is to see if you can stack the DC input. So I've got DC input coming in the back through that solar/car charging port, that DC port, and then I have a 100-watt USB-C right here. So you can see with the port in the back, it's inputting 103 watts or so. And now let me plug in the USB-C at another 100 watts to see if this goes up to 200 watts or not. So after plugging this in, it looks like what happened is this USB-C icon came on, and it's only charging about 100 watts. So what it did was prioritize the input from the USB-C and shut off the input from the back. So the answer is no, you can't stack these DC charging methods. Let's talk about AC output. I had mentioned that these are rated for 800 watts of continuous output. I was able to get more than that, about 830 watts of continuous output. But now I want to show you something else. If you try to draw more than 800 watts, I'll show you what happens. I have a 900 watt load on here right now, and you can see this will jump up to 900 watts of output, so it doesn't just kind of die right away once it gets over 800 watts. You can see it's going, the fan's on, it's drawing more than 900 watts, and this will operate for a little bit of time before it will click off and it'll show overload on the screen. So it can, besides that surge power, it can run above its 800 watt rating for some time. I've seen it go up to 2 minutes. Okay, so the relay just clicked off, and I don't know if you can see it, it says overload on the screen here. That's because I was trying to draw too much power out of these AC ports. But if you are in a pinch and you have a higher load than that 800 watts, you can get a little bit more juice out of this guy. And in some other tests in terms of output, I did some AC efficiency tests. And so you can see here that on one test at the maximum output rate at 830 watts, I was able to get about a 75% AC inverter efficiency. And then I slowed it down to about half that speed and had 400 watts of output. And that gave me about a 79% AC inverter efficiency. So let me talk about how you can use this portable power station's outputs. Obviously you have USB-C at 100 watts, so you can run your laptop off of that. You can charge all kinds of devices with the USB-A ports. With this 12-volt port over here, I like to use it to run a portable refrigerator, for example, and it's going to keep the food cold for a really long time. So if you're tailgating or if you're camping, you're going on a trip, this is really handy to have. And then I mentioned the surge value on these AC ports at 1600 watts. You might be able to run your small size refrigerator off of this thing, or anything else that's going to require that brief surge of power to get it running. Another major benefit of the River 2 Pro is that it can talk to the EcoFlow Smart app by Wi-Fi and with Bluetooth, and let me demonstrate that for you and show you the app. So I just turned on the device back here, and here's the app. I can just hit this plus button if it doesn't come up automatically, and you can see one device already found. So it found the River 2 Pro, so we'll add that. And this is going to ask me for my Wi-Fi password. So you can see it's showing me the state of charge. I can see the output wattages on AC, input wattages on AC, solar, and the USB-C. And if I click on output here, I have these toggle switches that I can turn the AC on and off. So let's turn that on. And then you can notice back here that this light turned on. And then I can toggle it off. And same with the 12-volt DC port. And then down here it's just going to show you the USB-A, USB-C output since there's no toggle switch. So if you click up here, you can see the state of charge, and it's saying 93%. It's telling me the battery internal temperature and expected run time left. Up here in the corner is a cloud icon, and if I click on that, I'll be able to connect the River 2 Pro to my home Wi-Fi, and then I can monitor it and change any settings with the app basically anywhere in the world. If I click on this settings icon here, there's a number of things that you can change or view. I can change the name of the device in the app. I can change the AC recharging speed here. It has a big slider, so I can set it at maximum rate. There's this DC mode. I'm not exactly sure what that does, but you can choose between car charging and solar charging. I just leave it at auto so it can figure it out. It has this setting right here called X Boost. And I didn't explain what that is before or bring it up before, but what that means is that you can turn this on, and then the AC outputs down here on the device are going to enable it to put out more wattage than that 800 watts of continuous power. But that comes at a trade-off, because what it does is it lowers the voltage from 120 volts down to meet the need of the load. And so you really only want to consider using this feature when you have a resistive load, say like you're cooking pancakes on a griddle or something, and it can handle that lower voltage. So otherwise, I just leave that off. Have your discharge and charge level here, where you can change it so that it's charging, it can stop at a lower value, or discharging, it can stop at a lower value. And another very important feature with the app is that you can do firmware updates with a touch of a button. So if I click on firmware here, it says I am up to date. So some thoughts on the River 2 Pro, some things that I like. I like the increased AC output wattage to 800 watts of continuous output. Again, I do like that surge value up to 1600 watts. I also really like that you can get a 5-year warranty on the River 2 Pro. Just make sure you register it. And I also like that they made the USB-C port bidirectional, although I don't know how much you're going to be charging by USB-C, especially since you can't stack it with the other charging methods, but at least it's there in case you need it. And another benefit that I wanted to mention, and this is subjective, is that at full current, either charging or discharging, I felt like the fans were pretty quiet. I also like that it has the flat top. I don't really miss the wireless charging because I don't personally use that very much, but I do like the handle in the back, and you can even leave it face down like that if you wanted to, and then you can pick it up and carry it pretty easily. I do wish that they had a second USB-C port over here, but that's pretty much maybe my only kind of complaint that I would have. Now, because this is a new release, there are deals on the River 2 Pro and the River 2 Pro with the bifacial panel bundle. Check the video description because I'll have links to those deals, plus a special coupon code that I'm able to offer my viewers. So make sure you check that out. I'll keep it updated because these deals are sort of time limited. And finally, this is a new YouTube channel for me, so if you like anything related to solar or like reviews like this, consider subscribing.